All right, what's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut and buff a hood or any part of a car that you want to look like a show quality finish. So if you guys saw the last video, I did respray this hood and it looks very good. However, there are a couple specks of dirt and some areas that might have a little bit of orange peel that you guys might want to get rid of. So I want to be showing you guys how to do so. As you guys can see, kind of got a little head start up here, just dabbling a little, but I'm going to be showing you guys the whole entire process of how I sand the entire hood and what products I use, and depending on how bad of the orange peel you have, what grit sandpaper you should be using. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I got a couple dust specks here and there throughout the hood. Not a whole lot of orange peel. It really is a really flat finish. It laid out really good. The Luma Base 3000 clear, it works really well, as you guys can see. I mean, obviously you got to spray it well, but the quality of the clear, it's definitely there. So let me go ahead and show you guys some of these spots that have the most amount of dirt specks, right? So right around this area over here, I'm not sure if you guys can see on camera, but of dust particles, which if I get from an angle, you guys might be able to see a little better, but they're just all kind of throughout right here and a couple throughout the hood. So when you have dust specks like this, you really don't need a sand with 800, 1000, 1500. Honestly, dust specks like this, they'll sound out pretty quickly with just 2000 grit. And you can either do hand sanding or a Milwaukee sander, which is honestly amazing. I highly recommend. It is a 3/16 version. They also have a, I think, 5/32. I'm not sure, I forgot the size of the other one, but the other one's a little finer, which might be a little easier for this kind of work, but this works phenomenally as well. So on the sander, I have a 2000 grit sandpaper, and the brand that I like to and that I vouch for is Kovacs paper, right? So they have their Super Bufflex line of paper, which is meant for, this kind of work, cutting and buffing. And as of right now, I'm using their green 2000 grit. After the 2000 grit, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into their 3000, following into this Sunmite 5000. This is like a sponge sandpaper. It's very light sandpaper, but it'll help bring a lot of that shine back. And this is the 1500, but we don't have a lot of peel, so there is really no need to cut so deep. So how do you know when to go on to the next layer of sandpaper? So how do I know to go from 2000 to 3000 or 1500 to 2000, etc.? The first sandpaper that you use, which in this case is going to be the 2000, I'm going to knock out everything to a smooth finish. Since I don't have a lot of peel, I don't need 1500 to get that flat finish. If I had a lot of peel, I would be sanding and going through a lot of 2000 paper just to get a flat finish. But since the paint quality is already so well, the 2000 will knock it down very quickly, and also take out the dust nibs fairly quickly. After every couple sections that you sand, make sure you wipe off your sandpaper. You don't want to scratch the rest of the hood with any dust particles or anything that's hard that might scratch the surface. Now, a lot of people like to wet sand and dry sand. This paper is meant for dry sanding applications. It works best dry. Definitely make sure that whatever paper you use, if it's meant for a wet or dry application, or either. If it's meant for either, I would recommend, if you're barely starting, to get into just wet sanding. It makes the process a little easier, and it makes it easier to see what you are doing. So without further ado, let's get into the sanding. I'm going to sand a section of the front of the hood, and I'm going to show you guys how it looks right after. Alright, so as you guys saw here, I sanded just briefly with the 2000 grit, just to show a little bit better on some of the defects that we are going to be working with. So let me go ahead and show you guys. So now that we sanded that, you guys can go ahead and see now some of the dust nibs that we're going to be working with, right? If you guys are scared with the sander to knock this down, because you might be, I don't blame you. You can either hand sand, or you can get this kit from Kovacs as well. Let me show you guys. So Kovacs also sells this kit. It is called the Toll Cut. It comes with a couple small blocks and different sized and shaped sandpaper, so you guys can literally just get the block and sand these certain dust nibs off. Now that is a great thing if you are doing just touch-up cutting and buffing work, right? So here are the different size blocks, and these are the different papers that you're gonna have and different grits. Okay, so here we have one of the blocks with some 1200 sandpaper on this edge and 25 on this edge. So how you use this is, for example, if you have a little dust nib right there, you're gonna grab your block and you're just gonna work the dust nib off. Super easy. It takes a little longer, but this assures you that these dust marks and any orange peel that you might have in a certain area is gone. So with that little bit of sanding, you can see that the dust nibs are just about gone there. So this is a great tool, great kit. If you guys might not have all the resources available, you guys could definitely invest in one of these and it'll help get those individual dust nibs off. Let me go back to sanding the rest of the hood here, and all of these dust nibs are gonna be gone once I am done, and I will show you. So as you guys saw from the time lapse, we did sand off all those marks and now we are completely flat. There are two areas right here and right over here where the epoxy is damaged. Once this hood is completely back up and buffed, those areas are not going to be noticed at all. And if you guys look from the angle, you guys can see that it is a bare flat surface. The 2000 grit is knocking it down phenomenally. Like I said, it was already flat as it came out of the gun, so knocking it down to a mirror quality was not going to be that much harder. But if I did have a lot of peel, it was definitely going to take a little longer and take some 1500 grit. So I'm going to put you guys back on the time lapse, and we're going to do the whole half of this hood, and then I'm going to leave this half undone. That way we can compare and contrast once this side is buffed and this side is not. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention is, if you guys are just starting out and just doing this, please do not sand on any of these edges, any of these harder edges. Why? Because the sandpaper will cut very quickly on these edges, and you will learn quickly that once you are on one of these edges for a while, you're gonna have to respray your paint or your clear. So please do not mess up all the hard work you've already done. Just stay away from the edges. A lot of people, what they do is they'll tape away every edge. That way they can't sand on there. Alright, so as you guys can see, I got most of the passenger side of the hood all sanded. Looking really good. There's some areas like the vents that I'm gonna have to do by hand, simply just because I cannot get the sander in there. And then this area right here I didn't sand just because they didn't need any. But other than that, just about done. I got all this and that sanded as well. So yeah, it is looking really good. As you guys can see from the angle, reflection is looking really solid. We can get the vents all sanded, and then we can wipe this side clean and start with the 3000. So I have this little container of just miscellaneous old papers that I've used that are still good. I found some Kovacs, some of that 2000, and usually what I do when these start to run out of any grit, any sandpaper, like when they're losing their power, I start to wet sand with them, and that seems to help bring it back to life. But once you start wet sanding with these that are meant to be dry sanded, you can't go back. You're gonna have to just keep wet sanding. So I have these, and I mean, until they can't wet sand good anymore, I'll throw them away. But for now, these hood vents, I'm just gonna wet sand with the 2000 grit. So as you guys can see here, I have this half of the hood all sanded down in the areas that needed work. Now we are gonna go ahead and hit it with 3000 grit now, just on this half, and then I will continue to show you guys how I do the 5000 grit. Let's go ahead and get you guys back on the time lapse. And as y'all can see there, the shine is starting to come back, which is an awesome thing. Reason being is because every time you step up in a different grit, the shine comes back more and more and more. Rule of thumb that I like to do is I like to do at least 2 or 3 passes with each sandpaper. So if I do 2 with 2000, I'm going to do 2 or 3 with 3000. If I do that with the 3000, I'm going to do 2 or 3 with the 5000. I like to match it. That way you get rid of the previous sandpaper sand scratches. I have the 5000 ready on the sander. Do the 5000 only wet when I have these sponge pads, as you can tell there. Let's go ahead, get the time lapse going. See you guys when I'm done. All right, you guys. Now I know that looks buffed, but it is not. This is after the 5000 grit sanding. We are just about ready to start buffing. Once again, let's go over exactly what I have done. I've knocked down all the dust nibs and small amounts of orange peel with the 2000 grit, refined those scratches with the 3000, and then refined those scratches with the 5000. We now have this beautiful surface to begin buffing. I'm gonna buff this side and then leave this side. That way I can show you guys a before and after. All right, you guys, so I got a little ahead of myself and I started buffing the vents. No biggie though. Let me go ahead and go over what tools and what compounds I'm gonna be using to bring this hood back to its polished state. So to get the original sand scratches off of the 5000 grit, I'm gonna be using a wool pad or a microfiber. You can use either or, one of these or one of these. Type of polisher that you would use if you wanted to get the shine back the quickest would be a rotary, but that is going to be a lot easier to cut through the clear. So if you're new to this, I will suggest staying away from a rotary and get something like a dual action or random orbital, because those won't burn through the clear as fast as a rotary. They might take a little longer to polish stuff with, but it is definitely worth spending a little extra time polishing than having to re-clear the entire hood. I have a rotary, but I tend to use this Hercules force rotation dual action polisher. It's a mixture of a rotary with the orbitalness of a dual action polisher. It's a very, very awesome polisher. I tend to use this with my wool pads, and then once I get a lot of these shine back with that, I go ahead and move on to this bar, also from Harbor Freight. Both of these are from Harbor Freight. Dual action polisher, because this will get rid of a lot of these swirls that the force rotation is going to leave behind. So those are my two. And then for the dual action, I like to use a lot softer pads. I like to use Rupes pads. I've had the best results with these. After the wool pad, I will go straight into a fine polishing foam pad from Rupes. When I use the wool pad, I like to use 3D ACA 500. What you want to do when you use a wool pad is use a step 1 compound, which is a cutting compound, as you can see here. That is going to bring the shine back the quickest. And after that, when I hop onto my dual action polisher, I'm going to go ahead and use the ACA 3D 520. This is the stage 2, called a finishing polish. Usually most compounds are going to have 2 steps. Some might have 3. 3D has 2. They have their cutting and their finishing. And then on top of that, I also, with my dual action, like to get a super fine or ultra fine pad. Super nice pad. And I like to pair that with the Rupes Uno Pure, which is the ultra finishing stage 3 polish. This is gonna give you a super beautiful shine at the end. And for all the hard to reach areas, as you guys can see, I started sort of doing the vent here. I like to use my Milwaukee M12 buffer. This is a 3-inch and those are 6-inch. They sell 3-inch pads for this as well, and the steps for the pads and compounds is going to be the exact same. So let me go ahead and get the random orbital and some cutting compound on the hood, on the passenger side of the hood, and I will start buffing and put you guys on a time lapse. As as you guys saw in the time lapse, I did this small area right here. So how I like to do it is I usually will start right here. If I'm gonna do this area right here, I'm gonna start on one edge, and I like to go just like this, and then like this, and I'll do each direction 4 times. So I'm gonna do that. It's 2, 3, and then 4, right? So I'm gonna go 1, 1, 2, 2, all the way up to 4. I'll wipe it down. So let's go ahead and wipe that down, and then based off how that looks, I will do another pass. A lot of the time that might suffice and you won't need to go again. That is looking very, very good, but your eyes can be deceiving. So what I like to do is, I went to Harbor Freight as well, and I bought this sun gun. What you do is you point the gun up like this, and it reflects what the sun would look like. So this is the exact same if the hood was outdoors and the sun was hitting it, because that is when you're going to see the most amount of imperfections. This sunlight is very, very useful for that. And as you can see there, everywhere that I buffed is looking very, very good. You guys can see there where I didn't, right here where I did. So if you guys really want a good buff job, I would recommend just taking your time. It is not a race. When you start speeding things up and trying to be done right away, that is when you start having issues. That's when you're gonna start burning through things, and that is when you're gonna start having more swirl marks. And please just take the time and go slow. The amount of pressure that I apply is not a lot. Like I said, I let the machine do all the work. I simply just guide it, applying a little bit of pressure. So I have the machine, I put a little pressure, not a lot, because if you put a lot, you're gonna burn through the clear. Do not want to do that, guys, please. I'm telling you, because I've done it before. You might not think you're burning through the clear, but once you start wiping it down and you notice that that haziness right there, it's gonna look just like that. That haziness is not going away. It's because you burned through the paint. So please be careful, guys. And like I said, don't apply too much pressure. Just apply enough to where the buffer is not gonna jerk on you. And what you're gonna do, like I said, is just guide it. And please be slow. Don't guide it quick and say, oh, I'm done. Oh, I'm done. No, you're gonna go so slow, and you're gonna come back and do another pass, another pass. Let me show you guys in real time. So let me show you guys in real time. I am gonna do this area right here and up to the center. So from right here, right about there, I'm gonna go ahead and buff that, and I'm gonna show you guys in real time. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you guys, but I'm gonna show you in real time how I do it. I'm not sure if I said the name of the brand of this wool pad, but it is a Lake Country. Another quick tip, when you guys are buffing, you guys might be buffing on a car up here, whatever. Make sure you guys wrap the electrical cord around your shoulder so that the cord does not scratch your paint. Also, I forgot to mention, the speed, I like to go around 5.5. That is the speed where I am most comfortable at. If you choose a slower speed, just know that you're gonna have to travel with the polisher a lot slower. And if you put a higher speed, you could go a little quicker. But please, the higher the speed, the easier it is to cut through the clear. So a good one to use is 5 to 6, and I like to be right in the middle at 5.5. Try it out and let me know if you guys like it. right, guys, let's go ahead and wipe it down with a fresh microfiber. You guys want to make sure you guys are using brand new or clean ones. So please don't cheap out on that either. They are super cheap. Just get a pack at Costco and you guys will be set for a while. So on the initial wipe down, it is looking very glossy. I am super stoked with how it is looking so far. Of course, there's going to be a couple edges right around here that are going to take a little bit more to buff, simply because I do not want to burn through with that. So I will go ahead and grab the M12 and I will buff all the tiny meticulous areas. But other than that, the main large areas are looking very good after that one pass. And remember, like I said, guys, if it doesn't look good on the first pass, feel free to do 2. Heck, even do 3 passes. Sometimes on black paints and darker paints, you're gonna need to do a couple passes, and that's just the name of the game, man. Welcome to polishing. It's not a quick process. The ones who are the most patient are the ones who are gonna get the best results. Just showed you guys in real time how long it took me to do that section. So now you could put into perspective how long a car or how long a bigger panel might take. It is not a quick process, but it is definitely a process that is well worth the results. You know, maybe do half the hood one day and then do the next half the hood another day, or do a quarter of the hood one day, buff it, go to the next side. The more you break things up like that, the more enjoyable this is. Please, if you're wanting to learn how to do this and wanting to start polishing and detailing and whatnot, please just take your time and make sure you guys are doing everything correctly. And like I said, don't rush yourself. It is not worth it. Okay, so as you guys can see, it is looking very beautiful. So obviously still have more work to do along the edge here and on the vents. I gotta touch them up a little more, but you guys can get a glimpse as towards how it is looking. And this is just the first step. We still have 2 more steps to go, and she is gonna look like a show quality hood. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this rest half of the hood, and then I will get back with you guys when I am ready to go on to stage 2. I am now done buffing with the step 1 compound on this side of the hood. I'm gonna go ahead and bump it up to the ACA 520, which is the stage 2 polish. So let me go ahead, set up the polisher, and I will start polishing with the soft foam pad. So this is the Rupes fine polishing foam pad. I'm gonna go ahead and use it. So this is the small one for the Milwaukee 3-inch, and this is the 6-inch for the dual action buffer. So when you guys have brand new pads or fresh pads, freshly washed, you guys want to prep them with polish or any compound before. So if you're using cutting or polishing, make sure you guys are, you know, being a little generous with it, just to soak them in, because you do not want a dry pad. That will make it a lot easier to burn through the paint, and we obviously don't want that. So I mean, that's all it takes, really nothing special. Just kind of prime it with some polish right before you start using it, and then you are going to be golden. Let's go ahead, I'm going to apply some to the hood, and we'll start getting rid of any of the swirls that were previously left behind with the rotary or force rotation polisher. Alright, so I'm going to be working in this area right here. If you guys try to do the whole hood in one go, you guys might miss areas or might miss some spots. So I suggest breaking it up into sections and buffing a section at a time. So this polisher, I like to buff anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5. So let's get right into it. Alright, so as you guys saw in the time lapse, I did this half pretty much from this vent all the way down. So let's go ahead, brush off all that polish and see the finish. Sometimes the polish is a little bit of a pain to wipe off. So a quick trick is you can put water on your pad and then polish a little bit and then wipe that down, and that should be able to get the polish off of the hood or whatever you're buffing. Take a look pretty much from here down, just this area excluding the vent. I just polished and it is looking very shiny. Go ahead, do the rest of the hood, then I will finish up this side, and I'll meet you guys at the very end when I'm getting ready to do the stage 3, which is optional. It is not a necessity, but I'm going to show you guys. This side is done with the stage 1 and stage 2, and this side is sanded all the way up to 5,000. I wanted to show you guys a comparison there. You guys can see the difference between a finished look and the 5,000 look. So you guys can see there, the 5,000 does bring a lot of shine back. However, the cutting compound and polishing compound really finish it up and do all the magic. All the hard work is in the sanding. The polishing is the easy and more rewarding stage. All right, let me finish up this side and then I can put you guys on a time lapse and I will do the stage 3 or ultra finishing polish. We are now done with the stage 1 and stage 2 cutting and polishing compounds on the whole hood. I'm gonna go ahead and do the stage 3 ultra finishing compound. I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys on a time lapse and I'll do the whole hood and we will be finished, and I'll probably shoot some cinematics. We are finally done with the cut and buff on this Evo 10 hood. It came out very amazing, guys. Really good. Really, you guys can see the reflection. We are looking like a mirror. Now, if you guys learned something, please make sure you guys leave a comment, like, and subscribe. That means a lot to me. And if you guys want to learn anything else, please comment and I will try my best to show you guys and teach you guys how to do all these things. Little recap of what we just did. We did a quick cut. Like I said, if I had a lot of orange peel and in even extreme cases, you couldn't start sanding with 800 grit. But since I didn't have that, I didn't have to start sanding with 800 nor 1500. A lot of times, if I do get a lot of orange peel, I'll just do 1500 because I've never had enough orange peel to go all the way to 800. But that is a thing. And also, if you guys use 800, it'll be quicker. The process will be quicker, but if you guys are not experienced with that, it'll be a lot easier to mess it up too. So please start higher, and as you proceed and you get better with this, then you can start experimenting with lower grits for a quicker finish. But if you are just starting, I would suggest taking your time. That is a #1 priority. But yes, we sanded with 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. Then we used our rubbing compound, which was the ACA 500. This is my cutting compound of choice, followed by the stage 2. This is the stage 1, followed by the stage 2, also by 3D. This is the ACA 520. These two are my cutting and polishing compounds of choice. If you guys haven't checked them out, I highly suggest them. And then to top it off, I like to go with the Rupes Uno 1 Pure. This is my setup right there. I also use the Milwaukee. I don't have the big fancy tools or big fancy polishers, but these Harbor Freight ones seem to just work. There is big name brands out there which I'm sure work very well, but For the price, this is unmatched. This Hercules dual action force rotation polisher is amazing. Here is the part number if you guys are interested in that. And then this dual action to do the finishing touches is amazing. This force rotation one simply just gets all the shine back with the cutting compound. The dual action does the rest of the making it look pretty work with the 520 and the finishing polish. This is my setup, and I know a lot of you guys might be new to this, so I would suggest starting with some Harbor Freight tools. I mean, me that I've been doing this for a while. I haven't upgraded to like Bigfoot and Rupes polishers, and I might here soon, but like I said, it just treated me so well. I haven't found a reason to. But in the near future, I'm sure I will upgrade. I'm really cheap with my stuff. I like to get my best bang for buck kind of products. If there's two good products and one has a bigger name, one is a Harbor Freight and they work just as well, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to spend more money. However, these bigger and better polishers and buffers, they're definitely worth their money. So like I said, I probably will be upgrading in the future. But for now, as you guys saw in the video, these Harbor Freight products work fantastic. One thing that I don't like to really cheap out on are the pads. I like to use Rupes pads. There's a ton of pads. I didn't show you guys these, but they have these wool pads. They're both wool pads, both used for the stage 1, but this one's going to be a little rougher. And just if you guys have any scratches that are rougher to get out, that is going to take good care of it. And the medium one is going to be for any lighter scratches. Let's say you're just doing a paint correction on a car, no cutting, no sanding, just paint correction. This is going to be perfect. And also not shown in the video is the coarse cutting foam pad. This is a foam pad like that. However, it's a lot rougher and a lot coarser to get rid of scratches with the stage 1. I don't know if you guys have picked it up yet, but when it comes to pads, there are a lot of good pads. I can't just tell you one name brand to pick, but what I can tell you is definitely do some research on your pads. And if you guys don't want to do research and you guys want to copy me, get Rupes. I use Rupes and I have never really had any issues with them. They're amazing products. After every 2 uses, I do throw them in the wash, and then I wash them and dry them on low heat. That's how I reuse my pads. After a couple times though, you do have to throw them out and get new ones. I wish we wouldn't, but it's just what it is. When it comes to polishing pads, I really love the Rupes. Definitely check them out if you're new and you're wanting the best bang for your buck pads. Rupes, they're not really expensive. For the price you're paying, they're definitely worth it. And then for these bigger wool style pads, I like to use Lake Country. You can find them on Amazon. They're a good brand as well, and I think Rupes also makes some like that. But Lake Country is a really good brand. If you guys aren't trying to buy Rupes, you can find Lake Country. Those pads are also very well. And then for these smaller ones, these Pro Line are also good for these smaller pads. And sometimes you might find Rupes that are small, 3-inch for that. I would suggest buying it. If not, you can use the Pro ones, or really these smaller ones you can cheap out a little more just because it's a smaller pad. But still, if you can find Rupes, I suggest going with Rupes. I think I've covered all, if not most of the things that I've used. I've used my Milwaukee sander, my little polisher, my big polishers, and all of my pads here, and then my polishes. Really, it's that simple. You guys might be overwhelmed, but really it's not a lot. It's simple. You guys, please rewatch the video, comment any questions you guys might have, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.